Las Vegas rocks all around the clock. Las Vegas rocks, 'cause this town never stops. Las Vegas rocks all around the clock, 'cause this town never stops. Las Vegas rocks.
Las Vegas rocks.
It's the Las Vegas Rocks radio show, the show before the show. Join us for a fast-paced hour of celebrity interviews and entertainment news. And now, here's Ron.
Well, Las Vegas rocks.
Las Vegas rocks.
Hey, welcome to the Las Vegas Rocks radio show this afternoon, evening. It's 5 o'clock in Las Vegas, 7 o'clock in St. Louis, and 8 o'clock back on the East Coast. We have a very special show for you this evening, and we're going to go back to the 70s and the 80s. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to go back to 70s and 80s Las Vegas history with my special guest, the former general manager of the Dunes Hotel Casino during its glory days, also special assistant to the president, Mr. Arthur Shenker Jr. He's calling in. He's on the phone right now. We're going to get to him in a few minutes. He's in St. Louis. Plus, we're going to have a visit with Vegas's own, the headliner at the top of the Dunes during Arthur's tenure there, the great Marlene Ricci, and we got some music from Marlene to play for you. One of the cuts is from the Jerry Lewis Muscular Dystrophy Telethon back a few years ago, and I believe it was done at the Sahara. I think it was done there. We'll find out from Marlene. And, of course, movie producer Tom Hillary. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Ron.
Good to have you here. In studio with us today also, Tammy Morelli. Hi, Tammy. Tammy's here to help us out, and she's the support of me and making sure things go right. That's what she's here. Anyway. And we want to remind you of our mission. It's to promote all things Vegas. That's what we're doing, including local entertainers, musicians, singers, comedians, magicians, and producers who perform and produce shows in the showrooms and lounges and dinner clubs, nightclubs, comedy clubs, and show bars in Las Vegas, the greatest town around. But before we do that, I'm a little tongue-tied today. Before we do that, I have to fix my new teeth. The tongue is getting in the wrong place. Before we do that, adjust your teeth and go forward. We're going to do our shout-outs. And I like to talk to the people around the country who are listening and watching us on Facebook Live. I'm waving at it right now. There's not a lot going on Facebook Live because today we're going to have our interviews on the telephone, but not Tom. He's here in the studio. And so you will not be able to hear what the telephone conversations are unless you're listening to AM 670 KMZQ Radio. So you might want to put that on while you're watching Facebook Live. And that way you can hear what's going on and see what's going on at the same time, okay? So shout-outs to Janet Conway out there in New Jersey. Hello, Janet. Happy to have you here a few weeks ago with the great Gene Ferrari. Marty Carmo, my buddy up in Reno. Hello to Tiffany T., who'll be back on the 29th. Josette LeBlond in Los Angeles. David Arciero in Da Nang, Vietnam. You still there, David? Are you on your way back to Vegas? Stay there, David. Patrick and Sam from Rainmaker TV. Congratulations to Patrick and Sam for their new business. PJ Giamaria out in Palm Desert. Hey, PJ, my buddy from back in the 70s, back in the day when Arthur Shenker Jr. and all those cats were running all these hotels, and we all had a great time then. Well, he was here then. Tommy Ronca in Phoenix. Johnny Skaggs, John Scaglione in Tampa. Mark Ewell up in Reno. Mark Ewell is a 5-time NHRA Pro Stock champion and a great guy. And, of course, to all of Arthur's friends and family listening in from all over the place that he told everybody about it, we're going to have a special shout-outs to him when he gets on. Shout-outs to them when he gets on the phone. Special shout-out to Chianti Italian Restaurant tonight. Rita Lim and Linda Woodson. Tammy and I are going to be going. I hope the food's good. We'll be there to eat soon. Also to Jimmy, Ben, and Angelo over at the Italian-American clubs. They're getting the party started. They're still moving along, making things happen. Bobby Mayo's and the Tuscany, they're helping get the party started. Those guys have done a great job to keep things going. Of course, we are hoping every single day that more venues open up where our local entertainers can get out there and work. We're trying to get them jobs. If you have a job or a gig coming up and you want to talk about it, you let us know. We'll put you on the radio to discuss it. Other than that, we're getting ready to go here. So before we go to any kind of break, let's bring Arthur Shenker Jr. on the phone right now. Arthur, are you there?
I am here, Ron. Thank you. And can you hear me?
I can, yes. Keep going.
Good. Just one small correction.
Yes, sir.
In 1980, I was actually made president of the parent company of the Dunes Hotels and Casinos, Inc. So for a good part of the time, I was the president of the overall corporation.
Well, that's terrific. And you're the guy who made the Dunes famous, right?
Not really.
Okay.
Grab the credit when you can,
I may have
Arthur.
been part of making it infamous, but I don't know about famous.
Infamous is the idea. Let's go back a little bit here, Arthur, and discuss that. A lot of people out there have been anticipating the show today because a lot of us were here back then, including myself. And it was an amazing journey. Can you give us a little bit of how it came together and how you were able to become an assistant to the president at that time when you first started and the general manager? And a lot, of course, had to do with your father. At the time, we called him Maury Shenker. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's exactly his name, Morris A. Shenker. Morris A. Shenker.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, my first name is Morris also. That's where the junior comes in.
Okay.
And I actually have a son in Las Vegas, so a shout-out, who's Morris III. Not to mention my two daughters, Jennifer and Laura, and my sister Patty in L.A. So shout-out to them.
Are they all listening today?
I hope they are.
Well, hello to everybody out there, to the entire Shenker family.
And to give you some background, when getting to Las Vegas and everything, my father, being a criminal lawyer, represented a whole bunch of real famous people in Las Vegas back during the Kefauver hearings. And when the Kefauver hearings were over, those were in the early 50s, and obviously the Mob Museum has a whole bunch of stuff on the Kefauver hearings.
Well, that's because that's the building they were held in.
Yes, the building they were held in.
That was a courthouse at one time, yeah.
Exactly. And they had them all over the country. My father, I think, represented more clients than any other lawyer in the country during the Kefauver hearings. And two of the clients were Sid Wyman and Charlie Rich. I'm sure those names sound familiar to you.
Mm-hmm.
And once they got out of there, and Dad said, well, why don't you go on out to Vegas? We can open up a place out there or start working out there. Well, the first place that they got into was the Royal Nevada Hotel. And then from there, I believe, moved to the Riviera. And from the Riviera in 1961, late 61, moved over to the Dunes.
Mm-hmm.
My father was always their attorney, so his connection with Vegas was always from the mid-50s on. So going back that far. Now, the hotel part of the family, my mother's side, my grandfather built the largest, most distinguished hotel in St. Louis called the Park Plaza back in the late 20s. So I'm actually third generation in the hotel business and started in it when I was 14 years old. So when my father's partner, Irv Kahn, died, who was going to be actually the guy who was going to be the partner out at the Dunes and run the hotel, he died in 1973 and uprooted us and took us out west.
When you walked into the Dunes for the first time, what was your position at that moment?
When I walked in, I became the assistant to the chairman of the board.
Okay, which was your dad?
Which was my father.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it started. But I was already 2.5 years in Murrieta Hot Springs, where my mother and I were running that resort.
Well, you were a young guy. You were only 32 years old at that moment?
No, I was in my 20s still.
In your 20s.
I moved up to Vegas when I was about 27.
Well, what was your impression? You walk into this beautiful property. Had the tower gone up yet when you were there?
Not the new tower. The old tower was there. The old tower was built in 1961, between 61 and 63, I think. And but so that tower was there, but the South Tower wasn't built until 79. And going into 80.
Well, then you developed that South Tower, weren't you
so
part of that?
we developed the South Tower and developed the Oasis Casino.
And yeah, it was a 3-story though. It wasn't much of a tower. I remember I was here in 1956. I was only 13 years old, and I have pictures of me and my mother sitting by the pool at the Dunes before the tower, and the casino wasn't even open yet. But the motel part or the hotel part was open. It was only a 3-story. I do know I know about the second tower, of course.
Right, that's in the back.
That's in the back, yeah. That's all that was up there, plus the big Sultan on the front.
And a little bit of trivia. the Dunes, the original tower, the North Tower, they called it. They say they had 24 floors as far as the buttons went on the elevator, except for one thing. There was no 11th floor, 12th floor, or 13th floor.
Why is that?
So in reality, it was only 21 stories.
So did you make up the floors or make up the size just to make it sound bigger?
No, the motel side that you were talking about originally there were the 1100 and 1200 series.
Right.
So we couldn't use those again. And 13 is just an unlucky number.
I get it.
So it's just eliminated. So even though they showed 24, you had the convention room, you had the convention hall area, which is the second floor, you had the offices on the third, but they didn't have numbers designated to them. So the numbers started after that.
So then you built the tower in 1979?
And we built the new tower, the South Tower, the newest one, between 79 and 80, opened up in 80.
Okay. The North Tower is the one that's everybody sees and remembers because the beautiful Dunes sign was right in front of it.
Absolutely. That's the one that was in more movies than you can think of. Any movie that took place in Vegas, that sign and that hotel, part of the hotel was always there.
Well, I think at the time that sign was one of the biggest of its kind, and others hadn't got to that size yet. Now we see them all over the place. But that was an amazing sign, the Sultan, the Dome of the Sea, all the great things that were there, and, of course, the top of the dunes. And we're going to be talking to Marlene Ricci in just a few minutes about that. But take me back when you walked in the door and you knew that you were going to be the boss. What did you see, and what changes did you want to make?
Well, I tell you, when I first walked in, it was a learning experience because even though I had a good idea of the hotel business, what I did not know a lot of was about the gambling business. So what I had to do was I had to sit downstairs and really observe and actually learn the gaming part of the business and have a total understanding of how it worked and how it flowed. And the importance of it back in those days, because back in those days, the casino was the center of the universe in every hotel. And everything else was ancillary to the casino. Where today it's a big change, because now they're making every other place a profit center. Back then, it was the casino that was the profit center, and everything else was the draw.
Well,
and when you deal with it, and of course, your show being primarily a show of entertainment.
Yes, it is.
When you go back with the history of the Dunes and all that, probably some of the some of the big entertainment started at the Dunes. Sinatra was there. Dean Martin was there. All the biggies were there at one time. Major Riddle brought in Minsky's Burlesque, which was the first topless show in the city at the Dunes. Every one of the rooms you mentioned earlier, the Sultan's Table, the Dome of the Sea, the top of the Dunes, all had entertainment. So everything was themed throughout the whole hotel with different entertainment and entertainers. So that was always a huge part, not only of Las Vegas, but the Dunes Hotel. And that's what made some of our rooms different than other rooms, because you just didn't walk in and order a steak in one room. You actually had violins walking around you and playing at their table, or Kippy Lou at the harp.
Did you have that guy Sasha that was around?
Sasha Semenoff was there.
Semenoff, I remember him. I knew him not well, but I did know him.
He was there originally. He ended up at the MGM after that. He was at the Dunes originally. So the Dunes was a real innovator for a lot of entertainment back in the early days.
What made you go to a headliner policy like that to get those kind of guys?
Entertainment was the big draw. As I said, the two things that were draws were the entertainment you had in entertainers and food. And those are the two draws and how you worked it. And that's why we had to make each room a theme room that actually had a different kind of ambiance in each room. The top not only had the beautiful Marlene Ricci, who was an extremely, extremely talented lady, and I'm sure still is. We had Russ Morgan and the orchestra that played for dancing. We had a buffet that went on there during the day. So being on the top and having that look all over the city was ambiance all by itself. That was entertaining, just walking into those rooms.
Well, when you were the
But you're
boss
right.
there, I was had an advertising agency, and you made a lot of deals with all the TV and radio stations, so I could eat there as an ad guy and also play golf. I loved the Dunes golf course. I never beat it though. I never got a score I wanted. It was a tough one, but it was a beauty.
Well, there was a trick. There was a trick to making the score you wanted at the Dunes. You play as many holes as when you got to the score you wanted, then you quit. So, so that was the way to do it then.
I always quit when my score was the same as the temperature. It was time to leave, especially in July, and now the 1st of August.
I just looked out there. It said it was 110.
It got to, at our home, our thermometer reads 122 sometimes, but then I think it's right out in the middle of the sun. But we all know Vegas is hot. But it was really hot back in the 70s when you were there, in the early 80s, and you were there right till, what, 86?
About 86.
Uh-huh.
And although we've had, different people came in and attempted to do some management there, but that was more in the mid-80s.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that. We'll get that to the role later.
You also want to talk about the Oasis. You built that, not the Oasis.
Yeah,
that was
built
the Oasis.
And the Oasis, that was misnamed. It should have been called Hoover or Eureka because it just sucked the people in off that corner.
Did it?
It was.
It was a vacuum cleaner, huh?
Yep. And when I say that, it's because it was built right out to the street, and wasn't set back at all. And we had something that we did out there at the Oasis. It was called the Fun Book, and people had to show an airline ticket. So when they walked in, we did a downtown type promotion there. When they walked in and they showed their airline ticket, they got a book that gave them meals with a lot off, double betting, and we gave them $10 in quarters to get them started on the slot machine and the video poker. And what that did was within the first 3 weeks of that opening, the video poker and the other video machines increased their revenue by over 4 times, and that was in the first 3 or 4 weeks. That's how powerful the Oasis was.
It was interesting when
people money and giving you the money to get them started. We actually gave away $10.
It was interesting when you built it because we all wondered what was going on there. We always felt then that there was your reason was to do exactly what you said earlier, to get the people right off the street. Right. I want to ask you about this other passion of yours that you are involved with. It's smart recovery. And I read the mission statement of smart recovery, and I'm going to read it to you, and then maybe you can say a few words about it. The mission statement is to empower people to achieve independence from addiction problems with our science-based 4-point program. And the reason why that makes sense right now is because there's a lot of issues going on in Las Vegas that people might need some help. So why don't you tell us a little bit about smart recovery?
Okay, smart recovery, the word SMART is actually an acronym. And what it stands for is self-management and recovery training. And the way to describe it would be, again, you pretty much said it in the mission statement, is to empower people to make better choices for themselves. And we are science-based. We use things from cognitive behavioral therapy and rational motor behavioral therapy, and we use what they call motivational interviewing. So it's a pathway that deals strictly with science and has been proven. If I can change or help somebody change the way they're thinking about things, that may help them make better choices in their life. And Smart Recovery is also a not-for-profit organization. So it's free. People come in, and then we have there are thousands of meetings worldwide. This is international. Our handbooks are in like 14 different languages, and it's been really accepted all over the world, as I just mentioned. So, we can I can go on and on and on.
I know you can. If someone has an addiction problem, they can go online and contact Smart Recovery and get help. Is that correct?
That is correct. Not only can online, but we have face-to-face meetings. Although right now with the COVID going around, a lot of our face-to-face meetings are on hiatus. But let me read one thing to you.
Go ahead.
Smart Recovery is a free science-based self-help group which people recover from addictive behaviors. Whether your addictive behavior involves substances, alcohol, drugs, or smoking, or activities such as gambling, eating, self-harm. Smart can help. Smart Recovery uses a 4-point program. Our 4-point program, real quick, is building and maintaining motivation, coping with urges and cravings, managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and then living a balanced lifestyle. So it's not a lifelong program. It's a program you get into, you'll learn something, you take it home, and recover and live your life.
Okay, well, hold that thought right now. I want to go take a break. And I want you to say hello to Tom Hillary, who's here in studio with us. Hello, Tom. Say hi to Arthur.
Hey, Arthur. How are you doing?
Good, Tom. How are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Do you have a question for Arthur that you researched?
Yeah, well, a couple of questions. I mean, it's a fascinating topic. I know a lot of people who used to work in this field, and God bless you, because it's got to be really gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching to go through this. I guess the first question I have for you, is there like an addictive situation that or a certain lifestyle or a certain part of the world or a certain climate where you find more people end up with addiction problems?
No. The easiest way for me to describe it is that addiction problems have no IQ. They have no idea who they're affecting, who they're hitting. You could be tall, you could be short, you could be Jewish, you could be Catholic, you could be black, you could be white, you could be polka dotted. It doesn't know. And when people get hooked into different things, and it could be as easy as smoking, it could be something as simple as over shopping, believe it or not, or overworking out. It could be any number of addictive behaviors, and we find that, especially this time of isolation, when I have my meetings, I find that a lot of people, when they say they had a lapse or a relapse, it was because of isolation and boredom. So with the COVID-19 going around and the isolation, that's why liquor sales have gone up somewhere between 50 and 100% around the country, maybe even around the world. Mm-hmm. So people who are drinking maybe on weekends are now drinking during the week. And people who didn't have a behavior may now have formed one because of this isolation we're going through. But all the different behaviors, it could be, as I said, it could be smoking. I mean,
how about addictive online shopping? I know someone who does that.
That too. We also have people that walk.
She's in the studio right now. Oh, me? I'm doing it too. Tammy just pointed at me. I'm doing it too. Am I doing it too? Anyway, would you hang on to that thought? I want to take a break, and we're going to come back with Marlene. Okay, we're going to reach her right now during the break. We're going to bring her back in. We'll talk more about smart recovery a little bit later on in the show, but right now we got some music of Marlene's, and we also want to get her into the conversation. Okay, we'll be right back after this.
At Lerner & Rowe, we know that car wrecks don't take the weekends off, and neither do we. If you've been hurt in a car wreck over the weekend, you don't have to wait until Monday to get the help you need. We have people standing by right now, ready to take your call, ready to give you free advice, ready to help you get the medical attention you need. You don't have to wait until Monday to call an attorney. In a wreck, need a check? Call Lerner & Rowe. We are the 24/7 injury attorneys, and we're available to get the help you need right now.
Lerner & Rowe is the way to go. Call 877-1500.
Scott Guido, managing attorney. Kevin Rowe is only licensed in Arizona, New Mexico, Oregon, Washington, and Illinois.
My son is 10. He has brain tumor, and he's fighting for his life. We are so amazed by St. Jude. We don't have to pay, and we don't have to worry. This really helps us so much. I really respect people who donate. Tommy can have a second chance. We as a family can have a second chance. So I'm very grateful.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Have you ever felt so dizzy you could hardly stand up? You're not alone. Millions of people struggle with dizziness and experience the debilitating symptoms of vestibular dysfunction, such as vertigo, nausea, and ringing in their ears. Vestibular disorders affect people of all ages and can impact ability to work, go to school, or just perform everyday tasks like shopping and getting dressed. Because these symptoms are invisible and difficult to describe, they're often overlooked by doctors and dismissed by family and friends. But there is hope. Visit vestibular.org or call 800-837-8428. If you or someone you know has experienced a persistent sense of dizziness or lack of balance, visit vestibular.org to search for a vestibular specialist in your area. The Vestibular Disorders Association can help you discover a life rebalanced. Visit vestibular.org, that's vestibular.org, or call 800-837-8428.
At Finley Acura in the Valley Auto Mall, they are committed to helping the Las Vegas community in this trying time. If you need any vehicle repair on any model, they are an essential repair facility and got you covered. They have oil changes starting at $19.95, free smogs for life. And if you mention this ad, they'll take 15% off the service cost. Plus, buy any new vehicle, and they have no payments for 90 days. Finley Acura in the Valley Auto Mall, or online at finleyacura.com. Vegas strong.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
There is no known safe amount of marijuana use during pregnancy. Marijuana is not safe for pregnant or breastfeeding women and their babies. Everything a mother eats, drinks, or smokes affects her developing baby or enters her breast milk. Just like alcohol and tobacco, using marijuana can have negative effects for your baby. Any form of marijuana may be harmful during pregnancy and while breastfeeding. Marijuana can affect your ability to care for your baby or someone else's baby. It is best for women to quit using while pregnant and breastfeeding. If you are pregnant or a new mother using marijuana, you are urged to seek help to quit. Pregnant women receive priority admission at state-funded treatment centers. Visit SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org. That's SoberMomsHealthyBabies.org or call 211. This message sponsored by the Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health, aired in cooperation with the Nevada Broadcasters Association and the station.
And we're back right now. Let's bring in Marlene and Arthur at the same time. Everybody out there? Hello, Marlene.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm terrific. How are you?
I'm great. Hello, Arthur. Can you hear it all?
I can hear it all. Marlene.
You guys have a conversation. Say hello to each other and reminisce. I'll listen.
I'm blowing Arthur kisses. I haven't seen him in ages.
And same here.
How long has it
all
been?
All I know is that Marlene was the dreamboat of the Dunes Hotel. You know, I remember my mother and I seeing Cinderella at the Palace, and we both simultaneously said, "Yeah, we need Marlene, and we want Marlene." And
that's so
Marlene
sweet.
became such a big hit for us at the top of the Dunes. I mean, it's amazing the different stars. I mean, Marlene could probably tell you because we couldn't be there every night when she was there. But people like Glenn Campbell and Telly Savalas and many other entertainers, that became an entertainer's. She was an entertainer's entertainer. And so many people from around the city and people that came in that were entertaining at other hotels used to come up just to see her. Am I describing it right, Marlene?
Yes. I mean, now when I look back, I think how phenomenal that was to have all those people come up and watch the show, have dinner, see the view. I mean, there's nothing like that anymore.
As a young girl, when you did all this, Marlene, what were you thinking in those days? What did you think about all this? What kind of impression did all this leave on you?
You know, I think it was such a whirlwind. I didn't really take it all in. Now I look back and I think, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky to have been part of that bit of Vegas, because things have certainly changed since, the top of the Dunes. But it was phenomenal. I mean, there wasn't a better place to be or to go, and the excitement, the people, and your parents were so gracious to me. I mean, it's just, I have fond memories.
How long's it been since you guys have actually talked to each other?
Oh.
Wow.
Years.
I don't know, Arthur. Are you good at the math? Let's see. I don't know. We probably ran into each other after the top of the dunes at different benefits or
different benefits. Yeah, I would think at charitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think at charitable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think at charitable benefits and all that. Plus, Marlene and I are Facebook friends.
All right.
That's right. Oh, that's right. I just wished you a happy birthday.
On Facebook.
Yeah. I could you bring Arthur's voice up a little more for me? I can hardly hear him.
And I can hardly hear her. So
okay.
Okay, we'll crank it as much as we can.
Crank it up, Ron. Come
How about now? Go ahead, talk to each other. You there, Arthur?
I am here.
Better?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is what it is. We could play with it all day.
Okay.
All right. So after the top of the dunes, how long were you there, Marlene?
I think I was there on and off like 3 years, at least from 79 until 81, approximately. I'm not that great with dates. Maybe Arthur's better on calling that
would be about right. And if my memory serves me right, the other people that you interchanged with was Bob Anderson and Loretta Holloway.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So how long was the gig up there? Were you up there for 2 weeks at a time, then you're down, then you come back for 2? How'd that go?
No, I think I was in for quite a while, like 2-3 months at a time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what time did the show start, and what kind of sets did you do back in those days? And who was in the band with you, Marlene?
Geez, Ron, this is like a test.
I'm sorry.
I had a 5-piece band, and they were called City Kids, and they were great. And there was dinner up there, like starting at 6 or 7 o'clock, and then I did a show, I think around 8 or 9 o'clock. I don't remember those details like that, but it was exciting. Every night there was somebody new coming up that, some celebrity or another entertainer from the strip would come up and have dinner Gladys Knight. One day I looked in the back booth, and there she was sitting there, her and her 3 guests, and having dinner. And I would get nervous when those names would come in. Say, uh-oh, I have to be really good tonight.
Well, I want to play a cut from your MDA telethon that was in back then in 1980, the Jerry Lewis MDA telethon that was at the Sahara. At the time, am I right? It was at the Sahara in 1980.
No, I think that year, actually, they moved it. It was always at the Sahara, but I think in 1980 they moved it to another location, and we were trying to remember where that was, but I don't know. But that tune, I was working the dunes, I think, when I went and did the telethon.
Well, we have a small clip here. I'm going to play a couple of minutes of it from the beginning with the applause. Here we go.
Okay.
Was wrong, wanting to be me, or but needing to belong. If I had just believed in all I had, if someone would have said you're not so bad. All the time I thought there's only me. Crazy in a way, or that no one else could be. If I had just believed in all I had, if someone would have said you're not so bad. All the time, all the wasted time, all the years looking for the sign to think I had it all the All the time I thought there's only me. Crazy in a way that no one else could be. Well, I can't believe that you were somewhere too. Thinking all the time there's only you. All the time, all the wasted time, all
That is really, really a good cut there, Marlene. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. He always had the best orchestra, Jerry Lewis. So you could go
all I can tell you is
and they would just play it down the first time like they've been playing it all their life.
What was that, Arthur?
I was going to say, all we had to do was open. If we could open up the windows at the top of the dunes, they'd have heard her and that voice of hers through the whole city. This was a beautiful lady, and a voice that came out of her was just unbelievable. You just got a real taste of that with the way she sang that song. And by the way, the MDA was at the Sahara until 1982.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. We thought it moved that year, but
it did move, but I don't know where it moved because I know it was until at least 1982.
Oh.
Well, it went to it went to the Flamingo, went to the convention center, then went back to the Sahara.
Yeah, and and people, we didn't even mention some of the people that came up there to see her. A person that actually I think was very influential in Marlene's life was Frank Sinatra. Frank would come up. It was unbelievable the people that would come up and sit there and want to have dinner and be entertained with Marlene.
Well, Marlene, right now you're working at this moment. You're involved in a production right now, are you?
No, not a production. Today we were doing an interview. I'm sorry?
I said it was Jim was being interviewed. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jim was being interviewed. He has a history before we met, a music history. And so a DJ from the East Coast came in, flew all the way in to do an interview. It's kind of going to be a documentary. And then, he's been getting old records together and his collection of things he did before we met. And then, of course, he kind of took the back seat when my career started taking off. He stepped out of it and was doing the managing until we met Jilly. And then that went in another direction.
Yeah.
But, so I've been busy. I was working on a Christmas album before COVID, so I got one song down. I doubt that I'll have the album ready before Christmas.
Are we going to see you before you get back to what you were doing? Are we going to see you anywhere soon? And when the showrooms do open up again, you are preparing anything like going forward like that?
Possibly. There really hasn't been any place that I could get excited about going. Even before COVID, I was talking to a place up in Summerlin with like a little theater. We were going to do a possible show there, but then once COVID hit, everything is so backed up and shut down. I don't really know, but I'm open to possibilities. I have a friend that wants me to come to Chicago to do a theater there, but I don't know. I'm kind of comfortable staying close to home.
I don't blame you.
Have you thought of doing online performances?
That's Tom Hillary talking.
Hi, Marlene.
Well, it just came to our attention. Someone just asked us about doing a streaming, like a show that you can go to a venue and it just streams. I guess you wouldn't have an audience, but I'm open to all the new stuff.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back. Thank you, Marlene.
Sure.
And I'll pass your phone number off to Arthur. He can call you when we're not on the air. What do you say?
Please do. I'd love to see you, Arthur.
Okay.
It would be the same here, Marlene. You take care.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, Marlene. We'll be back with Arthur Shenker Jr. right after this break.
Sun Country Heating and Cooling is a premiered certified independent trained dealer that can fix or replace your broken AC system with an unbeatable combination of low-cost repairs and high-efficiency systems. We've installed more high-efficiency trained systems than any trained dealer since 2004. We are a family-owned and operated heating and cooling company. When it's 110 degrees outside and your cooling system fails, you can count on Sun Country Heating and Cooling for fast service. 702-617-8159. That's 702-617-8159.
More lawyer, less fee.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you've been hurt in a crash, let me get to work for you.
Call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
145 over 92.
180 over 111.
182 over 100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest. And then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life.
A lot of people don't understand, including myself, I didn't, now I do, the impact of having a stroke.
My memory is shot.
When I woke up, I couldn't speak.
Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
It's a new life, but I'm going to make it better. Coming back. Ask your doctor, check your blood pressure.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Discussing the biggest issues.
It's just fundamentally offensive and frightening. It's just frightening. You say, like, who are we? How did we get to this place?
AM 670 KMZQ.
There's no other place like Las Vegas to see.
Hello, Arthur. We're back.
Okay.
How was that? You enjoyed talking with Marlene?
Oh, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. Brought back some great memories.
You know, I wanted to bring this up. I was watching the television today, and interesting enough, this is the 45th anniversary of Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance. It happened last Thursday, the date that was Thursday, just last week. 45 years ago, Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. Now, in the movie The Irishman, there's a lot of talk about the dunes at the beginning of the movie. How do we relate to that with your dad, Jimmy Hoffa, and the dunes and the Teamsters? How did that come together?
Okay, well, originally now you got to remember when Major Riddle and Jay Gottlieb got into the dunes, and that was back in the 50s. They were both from Chicago, and both were in the trucking business. So they already had an affiliation with the Teamsters Union, and got a small loan from them to help them get started. Now, once Wyman and Rich got there, that's when my father came in, and my father's big loan that he made was to actually purchase the hotel through one of the corporations that we had, and that was that big loan. And I'll give you a little story about that. And this is not with the Irishman, but outside of it. Is we were having a golf tournament, and I was playing golf. This is when Mr. Hoffa, after Mr. Hoffa was gone, but I was playing golf with Frank Fitzsimmons, was my partner, and who was the head of the Teamsters Union then, and a guy named the Deputy Chief of Police of L.A. His last name was Forer, and his liaison to the Teamsters, a guy named Lieutenant Ray Allison. And the two of them were beating us by one stroke. And Fitz looks at me and he says, Arthur, if we don't beat these two coppers, he says, I'm calling the loan on your father. Well, my A game came out. Of course, I was shaking like a leaf, but my A game came out and we beat them by one. So we didn't get the loan called on us. But in the meantime, if it wasn't for, there's three different entities. And again, just a little bit outside the Irishman, there were three different entities that I think are responsible for Las Vegas and the Strip. One of them, obviously, Bugsy Siegel and his dream. The second one had to be, believe it or not, Jimmy Hoffa and the Teamsters Union. And the third was Perry Thomas in the Valley Bank of Nevada. You could not get loans from regular banks back in those days for the gaming. They were kind of looking at it as persona non grata. And because of all the rumors of the people involved with the Teamsters, and with gambling. And but between those three entities, the dream of Las Vegas became a reality. And that's how Vegas was built. As a matter of fact, to my knowledge, the only loan that the Teamsters made in Las Vegas that really didn't get paid back was a skating rink and commercial center for like $700,000.
Familiar with that skating rink? It's still an empty building there.
Yeah,
the building itself is still there. However, it's dilapidated and it's home for the homeless right now.
Right, but there was but originally I think they put $700,000 into it, and they didn't get paid back. But other than that, the hotels and everybody else that the Teamsters helped were all paid back. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know if there'd be really a Las Vegas today. But going with the Irishman, because obviously my father, what a lot of people may know or not know, my father was actually his attorney. And
he was Jimmy Hoffa's attorney.
Jimmy Hoffa's attorney.
And the Ray Romano part in that movie, parts of that is they take creative freedom in these movies, but parts of that were modeled after your dad. Is that right?
Parts of that, let me put it this way. One, the movie was brilliant. It was absolutely a great movie. No mistaking it. But I think there were some historic parts that were wrong. My father's the one that actually visited Mr. Hoffa every week in Lewisburg when he was in prison. My father's also the one that negotiated with the Nixon people to get Hoffa out. And Ron, if I remember correctly, I sent you a little note that I had that Hoffa wrote to my father. That said that he will no longer be in organized labor as an officer. Signed, Jimmy Hoffa. And that was one of the conditions of his release, that he wouldn't go run for organized labor again.
Let me ask you this question. One of my listeners, Peter Rad, asked that question about the elevators at the dunes. You said you were going to answer that for him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, he was right and he is wrong.
Well, what was the question again? There was an elevator that didn't exist? Is that what it was?
No.
The service elevator and the same thing.
Okay, here's what it was. Okay. What the question was that the elevator that there was no service elevator in the North Tower at the dunes. That when you went up to your rooms, maintenance and room service, everybody was in the same elevator to be along with the guests. Well, there was a service elevator, but the service elevator only went to the second floor where the convention rooms were.
Oh.
Okay, so it was off to the side, and they took the food that needed to be prepped downstairs up to where all the convention rooms were. And then they had a separate kitchen up there to do the rest of the work to serve it. But there was a service elevator, but only was good for one floor, 2 floors.
That's funny. Okay,
so
listen,
he's
hang
right
on.
and he's wrong.
Go ahead. We're going to take another break here. We're going to come back once again with you, and we're going to talk about more smart recovery, an abstinence-oriented, not-for-profit organization for individuals with addictive problems. And when we come back, we're going to ask you more about that, and also your theory on what really happened to Jimmy Hoffa. You ready to go there?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Are you hot in your bedroom? Don't lose your cool. Call Active Air Conditioning at 702-438-3357. You've heard it all before. We're the best. We're the cheapest. We'll save you 50%. Yeah, right. 50% off what? Blah, blah, blah. At Active Air Conditioning, we don't come out to pick your pocket. We come out to service your needs. If you want a healthy, professional AC technician, call Active Air Conditioning at 702-438-3357. So remember, if it's hot in your bedroom, call Active Air Conditioning at 702-438-3357.
Most people think all short-term lenders are the same, and for the most part, they're right. But those people have not discovered how quick, easy, safe, and inexpensive it is to get a signature loan at the DLC. At Dollar Loan Center, you can get a signature loan up to $5,000 in just minutes, and you don't need a checking account or collateral. It's easy to qualify, and you only pay interest for the time you have the loan out. That's different, way different. If you already have a loan at one of those payday companies, we can really help. Give us a call, and we'll show you how much you can save by borrowing from us and paying off your other loans. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of money, sometimes over half. We love to say yes, give credit line increases, and we report your positive history to your credit.
Licensed by the Data Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
There's no other place like Las Vegas.
Arthur, we're back, and I wanted to ask you this. I researched that there's a local meeting online here in Las Vegas on Thursdays. Are you aware of that? At 6:30.
Yes, and the facilitator's name is Rick
Kapinski. Yeah, I have his phone number here, 702-526-9057. It may be interesting to some people in Vegas who are having issues right now because of all what's going on. They want to get in touch with him and set something up.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something real fast about SMART. One, it was founded in 1994 by Dr. Joseph Gerstein, who is a Harvard-trained MD, and it is not for profit. And most of us who are volunteer, almost everybody who is a facilitator for Smart Recovery is a volunteer. None of us make a penny on it. And I would say most of us also came from having our own addictive behavior at one time or another. And some are professionals, but most are just peers to the people that are coming in. And the one main thing we use to help people with this is what they call motivational interviewing. Is we find that people actually have the answers to their own problems, but maybe asking them the right questions. We never tell anybody what to do. We want them to realize what the problem is, and then they're able to make some of their own better choices. And as you did point out, we are not for profit, and that's really important. We're always looking for donations. If I could do a PSA like that,
sure,
tax free, absolutely tax free. And Mark Ruth is our director, and Bill Greer is the president. And we are so anxious to keep getting that word out there that we are here and we are present. And we are a great resource for people that are looking for a scientific approach to recovery from any kind of addictive behavior.
So if someone has an issue in Vegas, and a lot of people do right now, they get a hold of Rick and start getting some help?
Absolutely.
What will happen? How do they do it online? You just start chatting? How's that work?
Well, most of the meetings, 90% of the meetings are discussion meetings. And we present tools to people, and they always do a check-in at the beginning of the meeting and find out where people are at, what's been going on in the last week or so. And usually a topic could come up in there. But usually we have tools that, by the way, our tools are tools that you could use in everyday life. Like, for instance, if you were thinking of doing a different radio show, as an example, you would probably do a cost-benefit.
Only if I get fired.
Well, but we're not going to have you fired.
Oh, all right.
And I would say you would be doing a cost, or like selling your home.
I get it.
You'd be doing a cost-benefit analysis. What would be the cost of doing this? What would be the benefit of doing this, et cetera? And we use that same exact tool in Smart Recovery or values. And it might be asked, what are 3 or 4 of your biggest values? Where does alcohol or drugs or whatever it is your problem is, where does that fit in? And what happens to those values when you're doing those substances or that activity? And see how they disappear and how they come back when you don't do them. So,
and how does someone reach, what's the website? Tell them how to get there on their browser.
Okay, on the website, go to smartrecovery.org, SMART.org. And you'll find the online community there. By the way, we have hundreds of online meetings every week from all over the world. Some of them come out of the UK, some of them come out of Australia, some of them come out of Canada and the U.S. So you're going to find some very interesting people that are facilitating these meetings, and very interesting people that you'll find online with you.
Well, it sounds like a great organization, Arthur, but I want to get to the big question, and Tom is going to ask it to you. Tom?
Okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, the big question, Arthur. I just watched The Irishman that says Jimmy went to a hot place. I saw a video where a guy said Jimmy went to a wet place. My guess he's on one of Epstein's private islands, so I want to get an idea where you think he ended up.
Well, let me tell you, I think there's still a matter of controversy there. Okay? I think it could be one of a couple of different things. Okay? One of them is that, as the movie depicted, that he was taken straight to a crematorium, and he's just gone. Another one is somebody who's been investigating Mr. Hoffa since the 70s, and that's an investigative reporter named Dan O'Dea. Now, he believes, from his sources, that Hoffa is buried in the Moscato dump, which is in New Jersey, and he's betting the farm on it. So that's still to be determined.
Well, that little piece was on today. They said that they put him in a 55-gallon
drum and took him there and buried him.
And sent him from Detroit to New Jersey, and he's head first in a dump.
Under some bridge.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think happened? Your personal opinion.
Right.
Without getting us all in trouble.
Well, I actually heard that Ron had the answer to that. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know that we'll ever know, and I'm not sure that everybody really. I don't know. Maybe people still want to know, but I can tell you this: that the reasons that he was killed, I think, came my personal thing. And by the way, we talked to him. Both my father and I talked to him the night before he disappeared.
Wow. Really?
Okay, so we got a call, and my father was on another phone, so I talked to him for about 5 to 8 minutes before my father could get on with him. And when my father got on with him, I know my father's thought was, be careful, understand that you might be walking into something that may not be right.
That was the meeting with Tony Provenzano, is that right?
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And Tony Provenzano was in prison with Jimmy Hoffa, and they made they became bitter enemies. But Hoffa, who wanted to run for union office again, even though the deal was not to, needed to get the okay from Tony, who was the international vice president. But he was also a capo for the Genovese gang in New Jersey. It's almost like the Sopranos, and it's like the Sopranos in New Jersey. And the hitman, the guy that was pretty well known to have been there, was a guy named Sally
Sally Balls. That was his nickname.
Yeah. Bigurlio.
Bigurlio, yeah.
Yes, and he was already known to have killed maybe 50 people, and worked for Tony Pro.
Well, that Sal character was in the movie The Irishman.
Right.
His name, they called him Sal in the movie.
Yeah, it was Sally Bugs.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call
Bugs, that's it. We have one more minute to go, Arthur. I want you to know that, and we're going to ask you to give some final thoughts. I want to thank you, of course, for being on the Las Vegas Rocks radio show. This is quite an interesting hour, and I'm sure everybody got a kick out of it and enjoyed it. So you got the floor. You got a minute left, and tell us what you want to say.
Well, I tell you, I know you and I talked about what the future of Las Vegas is.
That's another show this time. You know, these shows go fast. I'm going to ask you to be back on again very shortly.
Okay, that would be great, because that's where I would like to go. But, again, knowing that your show deals with mostly entertainment, just knowing that whole town has been based and people come there for the entertainment, no other city would ever match Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is not dead, and it will come back.
You believe in the town, and you believe in our future, Arthur?
Absolutely.
We're speaking with Arthur Shenker Jr., by the way, in case you didn't know that.
And if you want to, when we come back on, I even have ideas of how to get there. And you and I may agree 100% on those. I think we have to take it back to old Vegas.
We do. I agree with that. We talked about it one time. If it were up to me and I had an empty hotel, I'd have $9 rooms, and people think I'm crazy.
I got news for you. I may even give them away.
Yeah, we did that. I've done that before.
Yes,
we're listening to the wrap-up of the show right now. It's Mr. Tony Sacca, the entertainment ambassador of Las Vegas, the late Tony Sacca, singing one of his own songs, the Las Vegas Nights. Thank you, Arthur Shenker Jr. I'll be chatting with you in a little while, and we'll have you back on again. I appreciate you being on the radio show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the Las Vegas Rocks radio show, dedicated to the promotion, motivation, and encouragement of local entertainers, singers, musicians, and the venues they perform in. Now, even more, as places are opening, the Las Vegas Rocks radio show is here for you. Let me know your plan, when you plan to reopen, and the show will offer you a platform to talk about it. Thanks to Jim Dallas, my sweetheart, and my fiancée, Tammy Morelli. Tom Hillary, we'll see you at the next show.
Absolutely.
He's here all the time. Remember, as Tony Sacca would always say, Las Vegas rocks.
Vegas nights, hold my hand as we walk under the lights. Vegas nights, I'll always remember the love that we shared. Vegas nights, Vegas nights.
Broadcasting live from the world famous